And we welcome you back to the Rowdy Studios with Reid Spencer. That's Buzz Cutler. I'm Bass Masters, talking the chase for the Sprint Cup. It's finally here, Reid.
It is indeed.
And you're headed off to Chicago. Well, Chicagoland, I guess.
Chicagoland,
Joliet.
Right.
Home of Jake and Elwood.
That's right.
Well, what a better place to be. Race one of the chase, a little different this year, starting at Chicagoland. But we've got our favorites, and I think we would all agree on who they are. Obviously, Jimmy Johnson. Jeff Gordon's been on a heck of a run. Carl Edwards has been strong all year long. Kevin Harvick, you might want to throw him in there. Kyle Busch certainly leading the points with 4 wins. Looks like he might be ready to win. But if we eliminate those guys, and let's look more at a guy you might see as a dark horse, or a guy that might not be on the radar screen right now, or looks like he's having an off year. Who would you say would be a guy who could come through and win this thing?
Well, my guy right now would be Denny Hamlin, believe it or not.
Wow.
The last wild card qualifier. And the reason that I say that is a couple of things. One, at Richmond, he gets wrecked on lap 8. And looks like his day is done. Those guys, somehow or other, get that car not only fixed and functional, but fast.
He was fast.
The other thing is that if Denny hadn't had his engines blow up in practice in what seemed like half the races and started from the rear, he wouldn't have been in the position to have to get the wild card in the first place. I think now that he's gone over to the TRD motors, the TRD conglomerate, JGR motors, whatever they want to call them, that his reliability factor is much better for the chase. Mm-hmm. And, you know, his cars are fast. So I think he really does have a chance. And certainly if there's anybody who needs to redeem himself from last year, Denny Hamlin's the guy.
And in a way, by underperforming during the regular season, you take a little bit of the pressure off yourself, and it starts to feel like upside.
Oh, no question. I mean, nobody's picking Denny to win the chase.
Right, except for you.
Except for me.
As his dark horse.
As his dark horse.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I guess if I have to go with a dark horse pick, a sleeper pick, I like Brad Keselowski in the Blue Deuce. I mean, he's won 2 of the last, 5 or 6 races. Nobody has scored more points than he has over the past 6. The guy is on a roll, the kind of roll you don't see very often in NASCAR Sprint Cup racing. Plus, kind of like with Denny, he's got nothing to lose, man. He's not supposed to be there in the first place. So he's loose. He's having fun. I think he's just going to go for it. He's going to let it all hang out. We've talked to a member of his crew at a couple of the past handful of races, and he's just like, yeah, we feel like we belong here now. We don't feel like we have to prove ourselves week in and week out. So Brad Keselowski, is he my favorite? No, but I think he's a real viable dark horse pick. And now, Bass Masters, who's your sleeper pick?
I like Matt Kenseth in this chase. I know he didn't do too well at Richmond.
It's kind of weird to think of him as a sleeper, isn't it?
In a way it is, but you know, he's built, I think he's the kind of a driver who is built for the chase if he can figure out how to get those wins. And Matt can win races. I mean, we've seen him win 5 in a year. He's won earlier this year at 2 of our chase tracks. Dover and Texas. Chicagoland is a great track for Matt Kenseth. So, you know, if Matt can survive Talladega, if he can not lose too many points at Martinsville, I think maybe he can stay in the mix. And he's just the kind of a guy who in this point system can get the most out of his race car and kind of top 5, top 10 his way, pull a couple wins down, and maybe Matt Kenseth could be a champion, the second guy to win a championship without the chase and with the chase.
But Bass, doesn't he have to survive more than Martinsville and Talladega? Doesn't he also have to survive Loudon and Phoenix? I mean, yes, you got 5 downforce tracks, but there are other Achilles heels there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Matt Kenseth is maybe not, again, the kind of a guy you'd put as a favorite, but he's a champion. We'll see what happens in Chicagoland to start this thing off. For Reid Spencer and Buzz Cutler, I'm Bass Masters, and we'll see you next time right here in the Rowdy Studios.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.